Morning, Design Forward. It's really early on Monday morning. This is my third take making this video because I think I'm still half asleep. I got up really early this morning to come in and record this in the office. I was up late last night. My oldest is home from college, and we're leaving for vacation at the end of the week. So this is their last week home. So we were up late watching a show together, and in the middle of the show, I heard this squeaking noise. And we thought maybe it was on the show, but it wasn't. It was a mouse that our two cats had cornered in the living room. So then we had to take a break to capture the mouse and get it outside. And I told my husband this morning, and he said, well, it's right back in the house now. So apparently I was supposed to drive it over the Baker River in order to prevent this and send it to somebody else's house. But anyway, that's why I'm a little bit tired this morning. It is the last week of July, which technically means we are closing in on the end of our Designing for Education module. But the good news is that we still have a little bit more time. So if July's been busy for you, things have gotten away from you this summer, you feel like you're still catching up, it's okay. We do have a couple of weeks in August before we return for university days, where I encourage you to do whatever work it is that you feel drawn to do, whether that's in the Designing for Education module or your June module or one of the other modules that you're interested in. Feel free to continue to read, to reflect, to share, to do work as makes sense for you. But because this is technically the last week of Designing for Education, there are a couple of things I do want to draw your attention to. The first of which is that we have a brand new resource in this module in Designing for Education, which is a piece written by my colleague, Hannah Mallon, in the CoLab. She's kind of workshopping this with us. It's a really great reflection on our role as teachers, as instructors, and the ways in which we reflect upon the work that we're doing, how we can reflect on that work so that it moves us forward instead of getting us stuck. And in particular, sort of how we think about quote unquote failure in the classroom and what it means to fail. And again, how we productively move through those things that we call failures. I think this is really important, in particular at PSU, where we have courses like TWP and NCAP, which put our students inside of work that can be challenging to the point of feeling like they're failing, right? Feeling like they are struggling, and that struggle being part of the learning and part of the process. And I think that's something that we have tried to really embrace at PSU and figure out how to teach through. But are we really walking the walk when it comes to thinking about who we are in those spaces and our role? Anyway, that's my quick takeaway from Hannah's piece. She would love it if as many of us as possible would read it and use Hypothesis to annotate and comment on it. She's hoping to eventually publish this as a blog post on the CoLab's website, incorporating, with people's permission, some of that feedback and thoughts. So anything that comes to mind as you're reading it, relating it to your own experiences, things that resonate with you, things that don't, things that make you think you need to want to think about this more, whatever, please do take a look at that piece of Hannah's. In addition, there are a couple of things that I would really love for you to do. The first of which is really important if you go into Teams, and I'm also going to put the link to this in the email that sends out today's dispatch. We have a very quick poll about when we should meet during the U-Days week. Unfortunately, I'm having trouble getting us onto the official Wednesday-Thursday schedule with OAA, and so it's looking like they're encouraging us to find a time on Tuesday or Friday, which I don't necessarily have a problem with, except that I know that many of you will have other departmental and committee meetings those days. So finding a time that will work for as many of us as possible is proving to be a little bit of a challenge. So please get that, please respond to that poll as quickly as you can. We're looking at maybe a 90-minute meeting one of those days. And to follow up on that, there are a couple of other things. There is an activity that was just added to Designing for Education, which is called the quote-unquote final reflection. It's by no means final, but it is meant to be a little bit of a marker for this moment in the program, in the grant program, as we're completing the summer curriculum. It's a time for you to reflect a little bit on where you started, what goals you set for yourself, what these 2 months have been like, what you've learned, what you've taken away, what you feel like you want to continue to work on and think about. And to that end, what you might want us to focus on at our August meeting. I have some ideas about what that might be, but I'd really like, as we move forward now through the grant, to be as responsive as possible to what's percolated out of the curriculum for all of you. So feel free to use those final reflections to talk a little bit about what's kind of front of mind for you at the moment, so that we can really tailor what we do at that meeting in August. And also thinking a little bit about what we might do this fall. So there is an expectation that we will continue to meet throughout this year for the grant. That can look like a lot of different things, and it doesn't necessarily mean everybody does the same thing. The CoLab is here to kind of foster and encourage whatever programming comes out of this. And again, we want that to be driven by your particular needs and your particular interests. So use that final reflection as a time, an opportunity to let us know what it is that you are thinking about and wanting to work on. If you can do that as early as possible, even if you're continuing to work on other things, that's why I put final in quotes. The sooner we get a little bit of feedback from folks on that, the easier it will be to think about planning for that day. I technically am on vacation the first 2 weeks of August. That doesn't mean that I won't be thinking about this, though. But if I could have a chance to kind of chat with some folks in the CoLab before I leave, that would be great. If not, I will continue to work and think about this over the next couple of weeks. There are a couple other things in the write-up for the dispatch that I encourage you to take a look at, some reviewing what I've just said, some other things to think about as we kind of wrap up this month. And as we wrap up this month, I just want to say thank you to all of you for what you've brought to the program this summer, for contributing your work, your thoughts, your ideas, your vulnerability, your strengths, and being willing to be in conversation with each other about what I think is really important work that we do here at Plymouth State. So with that, I will leave you, and I will see you all online and hopefully in person in just a few weeks in August.